Hello, everybody, and welcome to Artist Corner. Today I'm joined by Kevin MacLeod. Is that how you say your name? I'm sorry if I.
Kevin MacLeod. It's
Uh,
easier than you think.
I'm so I always forget. I need to from now on. I need to ask whoever I'm interviewing how to say their names. I'm really sorry about that, but
No, it is very common.
he is a musician, composer. You've heard his music somewhere out there in the world, and yeah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kevin MacLeod. I've been making music for the internets for, I don't know, 20 years or something like that, possibly longer. And yeah, it's gotten quite popular.
Yeah, I think I was reading over your Wikipedia a bit. It said you have around over 2,000 songs written. Is that right? Sometimes it
Yeah,
gets it
yeah,
wrong.
it's it's close to that on various places and um yeah, but that's about how many is are published.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. So when you started, have you always self-published your music, or is that something that's changed over the
Yeah,
years?
when I started, there was no one that was publishing music online. I mean, this is back in 1990s. So yeah, we didn't get things like DistroKid until much, much later. Yeah, so that's that. I started it with my own stuff, and I still kind of do it. So
Do you think that it's better to self-publish, or does it depend on the person in their situation?
it. Oh, oh wow. It's almost impossible to I mean you can oh boy. There's so many easier ways to do it now that it would almost be just a terrible idea to try and create your own website and understand like the laws regarding that and how to get money from somebody in Poland or like it is. Nah, I would just use one of the sites out there. I've been using DistroKid forever. They seem to be pretty good.
I use
So
that too, actually.
yeah.
Yeah, they also have their own mastering tool that I've used for one of my songs,
Mhm.
and it works pretty well, I think. I don't know. What are your thoughts on tools like that when it comes to mastering or mixing?
There's a pretty decent tool out there that was written in Python that where you give it a target that you want it to master to. Like, I want to make it sound like this song, and then you just feed it in your original song. It does a pretty good job doing that. Um, right now, there's been some good mastering tools available in Logic for a while, and they just released like an auto master feature in the last year, and I just use that. It's real good. I've been even going back with some of my older things and like, okay, let's just fix this up here. It's dead easy, and yeah, it's just a fantastic resource.
That's in Logic, right?
Yeah,
Hmm. Or do you know if there's anything similar to that outside of Logic?
I've been in Logic so long, I don't even know how else people do things. Like I know like some Cubase composers, and I'm like, wow, it just sounds like you guys are just spending a lot of money on plugins in order to get the things that I get for free. So yeah, I don't know. There's
Yeah,
probably stuff out there. There's a bunch of AI mastering stuff, which is pretty decent now. Um, so yeah, it just makes things a little sparklier, a little beefier, and that's what people like these days. So that's what we give them.
yeah. I use FL Studio, so I don't know how you feel about that, but I mean,
Tools is tools.
yeah, yeah. I think there's so much. conversation about which DAW is better, and I don't like it because I think you can use any program and do something amazing with it. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some things are built to do things better than other things, you know. But yeah, if you're able to like, remap your keyboard shortcut, you can build pretty much anything to do pretty much anything. So that's why I just go with Logic because it's super cheap, so many built-in features, and you just don't have to worry about it. It's got backward compatibility for 20 years worth of project files, and interoperates pretty well with Final Cut. But if you're not using Final Cut, maybe you need a different thing if you're doing big projects. So yeah, no, tools is tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only inconvenient thing about Logic is that you have to be on a Mac to use it.
You do have to be on a Mac. Yeah.
It is a great tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you recently released a guide called the Smart Ass Guide to Art, which
Recently. That was in the 90s.
I was in the 90s. Oh, I'm
That was in
sorry.
the
Wow.
90s.
I was going over your website that had on the sidebar, it had a bunch of articles. So I
Oh,
guess
okay, yeah.
I thought for some reason that was recent. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that wasn't recent, but no
But
worries.
yeah, for the listeners who don't know, it's a compilation of artists you found interesting, important, or freaky. In it, you explain how it could be pretentious and ask why can't it be academic and entertaining? What has your experience been with people who are pretentious about it, and what's something those artists could do to be less of that?
Yeah, so yeah, a long time ago in an internet far away, it was very hard to get interesting articles that were sort of like infotainment um, sort of stuff. So you could learn about something and like still be happy. It's interesting the whole way down. But yeah, we have YouTube now, and that's the days of the essay are kind of gone. I do write a little bit in my descriptions for my pieces of music. Hopefully, those are occasionally entertaining, but also get across what the piece of music is and what it does. Because when you're looking for a piece of music to put in your video, you can get overwhelmed very quickly by listening to 10 things,
Hmm.
20 things, and it's like that that needs to get cut down quickly. um and so I've been using the descriptions to help with that, hopefully in an entertaining manner.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff I've seen from you can be entertaining in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I was listening to some of your catalog and I saw you had a song that was called Farting Around. And I thought it was so funny how it was right above on Spotify, it was right above another song you made called Wholesome. So
Okay.
yeah, the contrast was hilarious to me.
Yeah. Oh man, where did I go? I got a fart virtual instrument some time ago, and I'm like, this is just the best.
I think I've made a song with fart sounds too. Yeah.
It's never not funny.
I know, right? I don't know why you wouldn't do it.
Ah, I mean, yeah, like with like the really cool pieces of art, really cool pieces of music or whatever, you can kind of tell if someone like cried or laughed whilst making it, and
Yeah.
that was definitely I was just laughing for hours whilst like just getting the correct sound in the correct place and just like, oh no, we need to, no, this needs to be more. Yeah, this one needs to be a little wetter and longer, and then we'll do a dry poop after this, and it's not.
Yeah, I recently started community college for audio engineering. If
Yeah.
for some reason I ever have a an assignment where I have to analyze a piece of music, I'll definitely be using that one.
What was the artist going for here with the fart poopy joke sounds? Yeah, nothing. It's funny.
When was the first time you ever heard a piece of your music out in the world? What was that experience like?
I don't remember. Um, where would I have heard stuff? I mean, going back, I heard stuff on like, radio ads, television ads. That was cool and surprising. Um, like, huh, oh, that actually works, for your, I don't know, some sort of Toyota dealership. I think Coca-Cola used one of my pieces way back in the day. Um, yeah, but that's not, I didn't really write it for that. I wrote most things to go along with, videos or
Hmm.
video games or movies. And, they just live in those environments. So, I mean, I come across it on YouTube, I think every day, you know, um, sometimes I'll wake up and it's like, oh man, 8:30. Okay, there's the first one. Okay. And I'm never sad about it. That's always pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, I guess, who don't get to experience that as composers, so it's always cool when
Yeah.
that happens to you.
Yeah.
Would you mind explaining how you programmed text to Morse to MIDI? Is making something like that a difficult process?
Not with the magical help of Chat GPT, it isn't. Yeah, I mean, I have a programming background from way back in the day, and I used to do everything in Perl, and now I'm doing everything in Python. And yeah, I needed that for like sound design on a video game type project that I'm working on. It's like one of the characters sort of talks in Morse code, and I just wanted to have it like something quick that I could type in what I want them to say and then just drag it into Logic, and it's done. No, I think that took me less than an hour.
Oh wow.
Uh,
I have
um,
no experience with programming, so it's always
hmm,
fascinating for me to hear other composers use it for music.
yeah, yeah. I built little tools like a music visualizer. I have a site called Danger Academy. It's got just a bunch of like little things that are just personal projects, a little tap tempo thing so you can, figure out how fast a piece of music is very quickly. You know, GPT can write that in one shot right now, which is pretty cool. Um, yeah, no, there's um, definitely use programming. Um, and you can even program from inside Logic. There's a JavaScript engine that you can use to capture MIDI events and alter them in literally whatever way you want. And that makes automating some things a lot easier. It's like if we're doing like chordal arpeggiations across bassoons and clarinets or something, and then
Hmm.
we're going to do a lot of it. It's like, is it faster to code or is it faster to play it in? Well,
I bet it can be a mix of both sometimes too.
yeah, it's almost always faster to play it in, but sometimes you can discover things that you weren't necessarily looking for.
It's all a process.
Yep. Yep. Can be.
Speaking of AI, do you have any kind of advice to write better prompts for it?
To do what? Like, what are we talking about? You know,
Yeah, I guess it
right
would be,
now,
I guess,
um,
oh, sorry.
no, go
Maybe
ahead.
maybe an idea could be to write a program for something music related.
Oh, yeah. Writing a program to do things music related. Um, so recently I've been using them for kind of idea generation, and also I ask it how to use the synthesizers. It's like, so I have a thing where it's like, okay, I want this giant magical airship sound. And it's like, okay, here's how to use, the ESQ synthesizer. Set this to this, set this to this, route this to here, route this to there. And well, it was right. It was good. Like it made that sound, it's like, drift the thing down with the Doppler, like, all right. Um, so it's not real good at outputting actual sound yet.
Hmm.
But helping you use the tools, it's very good at right now.
And do you have to pay for the chat GPT that lets you do audio and stuff? Because I think,
GPT, uh, don't think they have an audio model now.
oh,
Stable Diffusion is the one that I use for generation. And then there's another one called Lalo, Lalo, which you can use. You put a piece of music in it, and you can tear something out of it. So, like if I'm learning bass for a song, I can just load the song in there, say, "Give me just the bass line," and now I can hear all the notes that the bass is doing. And also, I have a really good backing track to practice to, which is just the actual song, but without the bass line in it.
yeah, so,
Um,
yeah, that's cool. I guess for some reason I thought because there's Chat GPT 4 that you do have to pay for, but
yeah,
I had no idea if it had audio or not.
not currently, not currently. Let's see. Meta did some good work with text to audio a couple of years ago, but I don't think they've released that model. OpenAI has stability, and so I use them for. I was using them yesterday for sound design on a video game, which we needed it's like a helicopter that's like hold like with the chainsaw, and then it's like trying to like um, what do you get? Like cut
The
trees away from power lines.
oh,
So but it's like super wonky, and so just like, all right, we need a lot of just people screaming in terror. And like before that, you had to go to, well, you could buy sound libraries, or I used there was a sort of a public domain sound archive called
free sound?
Free Sounds. I think,
Yeah,
yeah, that sounds
yeah.
like it. And now it's like, no, I just type them in. Just type them in.
Yeah,
And yeah.
it's so cool to me how convenient it is now. And it's I think there's a lot of conversation too about AI and how whether or not we should be worried about it or if we should be more open-minded about it. What do you think?
Well, I'm not worried about it. Um, it, is it going to do what I do better than me? Absolutely, yes. Does it do it yet? No, no. Maybe this year. Hopefully this year. Hopefully we can have it like look at a video game and have it score it in real time, or look at a movie and score that in real time. Um, because composing isn't isn't a black art. There are rules, and it will know them. So it's just a matter of time before that all happens.
Speaking of rules,
Um,
oh, sorry.
yeah.
I was gonna say, speaking of rules, do you have any exercises that you do to break them?
um, I don't like to break a lot of rules.
Oh,
You know, if you need to make a video game that sounded was like it was from 1992, just you just follow those rules. If you're trying to make a piece of music that is Vietnamese folk music, you follow those rules. Your own personality will break it enough.
hmm,
Um, and yeah, now I used to do a lot more experimentation when I was younger, and I got some cool stuff out of it, but it, the success rate is very, very low.
hmm,
You follow the rules, you'll get a better product. Um, I mean, sometimes the rules are weird.
yeah.
There's some Australian Aboriginal music that I was listening to that's in 5/4 ish time. Like, that's sort of a rule break, but it's in the genre or in the field of whatever. I don't know what music is. That's fine.
I don't think anyone does, to be honest. What's your learning process like, by the way, when you go and research a new genre?
Man,
Is it often a more tedious process or
it's like two Wikipedia pages and about 50 YouTube tabs.
Yep.
That's it's like, okay, what are we supposed to do? And then how does that actually sound? So I don't know how anyone else does it. I assume everyone does it the same way, but maybe not.
I think my process is pretty similar. A lot of YouTube. A
A lot
lot.
of YouTube videos.
When making a horror ambiance, generally speaking, you use a lot of space. What are some techniques you use to create a sense of space?
Oh boy, horror. Um, Horror is very hard for me to write because like you're working on a piece for 6, 8 hours and it's a piece that is designed to like rub your brain raw and really get it into a unhappy place, which means that you have to have that feeling the entire day. And like, oh man, yeah, I kind of stopped doing those. They're um yeah, it's just like, oh, did this make me feel weird or bad? And like, let's do more of it. More. And you always do because you have to go so far beyond when you're writing music to have the audience have like a sliver of that feeling when it finally gets to them. And oof, yeah, horror. There are some people who could just do it. They're fine with it. I'm not one of those. How do you create space in there? Um, the unknown. Are you talking about like space as like in like time
Yeah,
or
time and a physical realm, and I guess
yeah,
with reverb and stuff like that.
yeah, nah. I mean that's just one of those things, kind of like salt to taste sort of
Hmm.
thing. It's like, is it doing its job? Great, let's do it more. Is this not doing its job? Do we, speed it up, slow it down? Which one works better? You just constantly like fiddling with those dials, trying to up the horrorness,
Yeah,
horrorosity.
I bet when you're composing something horror related to, you probably have to also engage in some of that content over time to research about
Oh
it.
yeah.
And I bet,
Well,
I guess
um,
depending on what you're doing.
yeah, if you got a movie, you're just looking at that scene over and over and over again. If you're doing a video game, well, usually when I do video games, I'll get make a gameplay loop so that I can have something that I'm looking at in the DAW. So yeah, no, you got it. Oh well, and it's kind of nice because like after you've seen like the horrible scene for the 40th time, it's like okay, yeah, okay, no surprises here. I'm okay. I know the actor is fine. So
Well, I bet you get desensitized pretty quick if you're always working in that space.
I can't imagine. Yeah, not. People do ask me to write more horror, and I'm like, I would rather not. I would just rather not. I'd rather have a happy day rather than put myself through that ringer. Because I'm not like my horror stuff is popular, but I'm not sure it's any good. But
I really like it.
okay,
I was listening to your SCP Triple X album
okay, yeah.
and I actually really liked it. I really liked the sound selection in it,
Mm,
and I think some songs there's like this interesting bowed sound I think I heard maybe,
mm, okay,
and I thought
could be.
I don't know. I like the sound selection. That's all.
All right, yeah,
S- I- sorry, I might have to cut this part out. I'm a little
yeah.
my ooh
Yeah, the SCP stuff, I think that was the most recent stuff that I did. But it's not all horror. The SCP's got some light things in it as well. I mean, are you a fan of the SCP in general, or do you know it
I
or
know a
what it
little bit
is?
about it. Yeah, I've played
Yeah.
games of it before.
Yeah, I was really excited about the sort of like open collaborative storytelling world that's not really owned by anyone. And then it turns out parts of it are owned by people. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Also, I apologize if for some reason I'm blanking out a little bit just because it's so early for me.
yeah, yeah, no, no worries. Yeah.
Is there anything in particular you want to talk about?
Oh man, we talked about the AI. I mean, I'm just waiting for that to just get better. I'm, in video games and music, in everything, and it's already pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the end of the day, this won't be a job. People will do it because they like it, because it's fun, because it's exciting. Kind of like backyard gardeners do not put out as much food as commercial farmers do, but they still have a great time doing it. So I'm looking forward to that phase of the world.
Yeah, I think I like your view on it. I think it's a lot healthier to also be open-minded about something instead of thinking it's gonna ruin your life.
Oh, it's going to change some stuff in the world.
For
Don't,
sure, for sure.
but yeah, as long as you're quick to change and um, when a new tool comes out, try it. I know I get a little bit of shit for my like thumbnails and album art because that uses AI now. But oh my God, is it so much better than my other album art? It's just so much better. Like,
I think I've actually
and
used AI for
yeah.
album art once. And yeah, you're right. It can be a lot better than what you actually make if you don't have
Absolutely.
if you don't have that kind of background.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I guess it depends on your situation and kind of what you're going for, I guess.
Yeah.
It's probably
I mean,
different.
if yeah, if you're a graphic designer and a composer, do it. Or if you know a graphic designer and they want to help out, let them. They're pretty good. Um, at least for a little while, they will be. Like most of the design people I know absolutely use Midjourney and Dali for mock-ups, and uh, you know, Photoshop's got the generative fill in there, and that's just a tool. I think Steam had a thing where it's like, oh, we don't want AI generated stuff in our games on the store.
Hmm.
And then everyone's like, well, that's what we're using because it's faster, better, cheaper. So they, and also it's just built into everything now, and it's going to be built into more things. And so like, oh, is it AI? Is it not? Yeah, it's just by the end of next year, it's not even going to be a thing. But yeah, everyone's scared,
Yeah.
and that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, there's two sides of a coin in that way.
um,
Can I think for a
and
second? Oh, sorry.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry, you
do
can
it.
continue.
No, I got it. Yeah, we're good. I'll
Uh,
grab a water.
I'm so sorry. I I
I'm
apologize
not asking you enough questions
if
either.
I'm
So,
interrupting.
yeah, it's your show. You can interrupt as much as you like.
Oh, I feel so bad right now.
I don't. You shouldn't. No, you shouldn't feel bad on my behalf.
Can you tell when you listen to music if it's AI generated?
Mm. There's a few ways they do it now. There's there's a lot of subscription services out there which basically have just prepackaged loops that are stuck together and then outputted, and you can't tell with those because those loops were made by human composers, and then they just get stuck together. um yeah, a few years ago I did I forget the name of the piece, but it had uh, a saxophone in it. And I don't know if you've ever tried to make saxophone music on a computer, but it sucks.
Yeah.
Like even the best models can do like one thing, but they can't do the entirety of a saxophone. And so I used Google's Magenta tone transfer on that. And gosh, I mean, I can tell that it's not a saxophone only because it hits notes that a saxophone can't actually hit. Like it goes like two notes below the tenor sax range, and like, oh, but it sounds right in the. If the saxophone could do that, I mean, it could have been a custom saxophone, but yeah, there's going to be no way to tell in the futures.
Hmm.
Um, and we've had synthetic instruments for damn near 20 years that are really hard to tell. The percussion instruments were the first ones that got really good. Um, Stringed instruments came a little later, the things that have breath control and stuff like that. And some of them, like saxophone, just still like,
I bet it
uh,
gets even worse with more obscure instruments
there's
because
Yeah, if you need a shamalo or something, I don't even know what that is.
I was gonna ask you what that is, but
Yeah, some probably something medieval.
that actually brings me to one of my questions I wanted to ask. What's the weirdest instrument you've ever made music with?
First instruments I've ever made music with, uh, like in real life.
Yeah,
Um,
or virtual.
yeah, I mean, this thing's pretty weird.
I have one of those.
Um, yeah.
Oh man, I think
It
I
does
think
blues
Zoom
really
couldn't,
well. Oh yeah, probably
but
can't.
I heard a tiny bit of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
The
love the
noise
melodica.
cancellation is aggressive on these apps. So
It's helpful in some cases though.
yeah, yeah. I mean, when you're getting into like very weird genres, you get very weird instruments. So
I think weird is
yeah, I
fun though.
don't, yeah. I mean, especially if it's things that like sound pretty cool, but like people are just don't know them, and like everything is sort of a blend of everything else. There's very few new instruments since the synthesizer. So,
Have you played the kalimba at all recently?
oh, I have a kalimba.
I have one. I don't know if you could see it. I have one sitting right there.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then I detuned it, and then for a particular piece, and then I haven't bothered to retune it. Happen out the little things. Kalimbas are really cool. They're portable. Um, you can stick them in your backpack, you'll be fine. I also like the ocarina, and what do I got? Where's my pan flutes? My pan flutes around here somewhere.
They're pretty
Doing a
cheap
lot
too.
of doing a lot of 3D printing. Hmm. Hello, pan flutes.
3D
All right,
printing
what?
is another interesting topic on its own.
Yeah. So here's a nice little 3D printed thing,
Oh wow.
which you can get at janecast.com. And these come in, I don't know, like 20 different sizes to be in tune depending on what the temperature is,
Wow.
because temperature affects tuning. And, if it's, 5 degrees colder, 10 degrees colder, they're going to be way off. So you have to print out another one
Oh
for
no.
10 degrees colder and another one for 5 degrees warmer or whatever.
Can I ask
So,
what kind of material the 3D printer uses?
yeah, I think this is just a PLA plastic.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and
Can you play that yet?
it's
Or oh, I can't hear
can
it
you hear
still.
it?
Dang, Zoom. Zoom.
Hey, Zoom. No, it actually is absolutely pure and absolutely in tune and loud, and it's really great. I made this for people who sing the role of Papageno in Mozart's Magic Flute.
Wait,
Um,
is that a movie? Or
it is an opera
oh,
from the way back times, Mozart. Yeah,
yeah.
and a lot of times, like the people who sing the role cannot get ones that are in tune because they're typically handmade and they only work at one temperature. Whereas you've got to match the orchestra because you're not going to be, if the marimba is too flat, you're not going to be sitting there with a planer like you. That's what you have to. That's what you have to hit: A440 or A438 or A415, whatever the thing is. So they can't get them. So they usually like just sort of like get a mock up and then have the flute or the piccolo. in the orchestra cover it. I'm like, well, that's can be made better, right? So there's about a year of development into this thing.
I had no idea
So
the
just boxes of failures.
I had no idea the temperature can affect tuning. That's
Yeah, yeah, on fluty sort of things, absolutely.
oh
On your, you know, it's a yeah, it's about the density of the air, and so if you've ever heard, I don't know, like they have like those like sort of like fairground machines back, I don't know, 100 years ago, and they've it's like got like a pipe organ sort of in there, and it's also got like for drums and mallet instruments and stuff. And during the day, they sound great, and at night, these things go the air instrument goes flat, but the metal instrument stays the same. So
wait.
that's where you get that sort of weird carnival out of tunedness.
Sorry,
You know, like
could you repeat
oh
that
yeah.
again? Sorry, it's a little confusing to me.
Right. So they have these like player instruments at
Yeah,
carnivals, you know, in the 1920s, probably back into the 1800s. And they will sound great during the daytime.
yeah.
And then at night, when the temperatures drop, the the what is it, like the air column instruments, like the pipe organ sort of parts, like get way out of tune compared
Because
to like
yeah.
the glockenspiel parts. And that's why when you like you see like a movie and they have that thing and it's nighttime and it just sounds off and wrong, that's because half the instrument is detuned because of temperature.
Mm.
Those can
So
only work at exactly one temperature.
so does does it get worse because it's colder at night or because it's warmer?
Either way, they
Oh.
work at one temperature.
Oh, oh, I get it. Yeah.
If it gets too hard, this one's flat. If it gets too cold, that one's flat.
Oh, so it depends on each individual, I guess, set of instruments.
Right, right. The air instruments uh, will change with temperature, whereas the stringed instruments will not, or the
Hmm.
metallophones or whatever. Yeah, your marimbas and your vibraphones and glockenspiels and that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's cool stuff.
Yeah. Really helpful to know too. I don't know where else I would have learned about that.
I don't know.
So EQ is something that really confuses me as a composer.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but for some reason I just can't understand it. I was
Okay.
wondering if you had any advice on how to understand it more and what to listen for when using it.
Um, so mostly what I'm doing EQing is to clarify something in the mix. Um, Hopefully I don't have to use it much at all. Um, like if you're doing an orchestral thing and it's starting to get muddy, well, you just wrote those parts wrong.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's like, all right, take those notes out of that octave, move them up, or give them to a different instrument or something like that. I don't do extensive work with it beyond, you know, well, here's an instrument, and I really don't need the bass portion of it. You just take the bass down by, you know, ridiculous amounts of dB. Or I've got something I want to be a little shinier. Just take the high shelf just up. Um, the other thing that I do is find out whatever is at 200 hertz and just turn it down. Just whatever's at 200 hertz. It just seems to be like the mud hole and if you're getting something muddy, it's like, okay, well, okay, I can turn it down in this instrument and this instrument, and then, only have one instrument sitting in that 200 hertz range. Um, there are some instruments that just have like peaks in certain ranges, and like you can look for those peaks and tamp them down or accentuate them. Maybe I don't understand the question.
So,
Um, yeah.
do you think it's better to keep EQ simple instead?
I don't do a lot of work with them, right? Um, the, but yeah, like that, it is the tool of last resort. If I can make it sound better by putting the right notes there in the first place, that's the first step.
Hmm.
If you just have something that just sounds like that, and now, okay, now you got to go in and like carve out little bits, and I'm sure there's some like auto EQ stuff out there, and uh, I remember the multi-band compressors. Those are cool and tricky.
Yeah,
And I've gotten pretty okay at using them. Um, but yeah, try to do it with notes before anything else. So
yeah. Well, thanks for explaining that to me. It's for some reason, sometimes I get confused by even the basics of producing, and then
yeah.
even if I've been producing for 3 years at this point, I'll learn something new about that, and I'll go, dang, why didn't I learn that sooner? So it's really helpful.
Well, pretty sure you can't learn everything all at once. So
Yeah, it's a process.
yeah. Does it sound good? That's all you need to care about. Some people, like I've got friends who are wizards with that stuff. And I'm like, good. I'm not.
Speaking of multi-band
So,
compressors, by the way, have you heard of what OTT is? You know that plugin?
no.
Oh, I it might be a multi-band compressor. I'm actually not sure, but it's still a
What does it
great.
do?
It works like a compressor. Basically, it gives you three signals. I might explain this horribly, by the way, but this is how I view it. It gives you three signals. It gives you the low, the middle, and the high. And I think you can. There's different knobs, and I think with the knobs you can change. I'm not sure if it's the transient of each frequency. I think you kind of just change each individual frequency somehow.
Yeah.
And it works like a compressor, but you can change each.
Yeah. Because back in the day to do that, you would have to like separate your audio into three different channels and then run it through three different physical compressors and then pile them all back in at the end.
Oof.
Yeah, it does a lot of good to like keep the bass from pumping the highs, or alternately really make that happen. Um, yeah, the multi-brand compressor, you can do some really cool stuff with that. Oh,
That's a whole topic
yeah,
on its
that
own.
that is hours. That is hours. Using two band, four band. Where do you set the breakpoints? I mean, it all depends on the piece of music and how the things are going together.
Oh boy.
But yeah, honestly, I just use the mastering stuff now, and I haven't really done a lot of work with the multi-band compressors in a couple of years. So, but yeah,
Awesome.
good times. Good times.
Yeah, I think it's always so interesting to learn about the different tools that other people use. and it's
Yeah.
always interesting to talk about tools, especially when you use these tools all the time in your process and you don't really talk about it to anyone because it's one of those things that you have to have friends and that people that you can talk to about music stuff like that and just nerd out about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for talking to me about EQ and compression.
EQ and compression. Yeah.
Well, if it's okay with you, I think that's a good time to end the episode.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much again for joining me, Kevin. I really appreciate you taking the time and doing an interview.
Yeah. Thanks.
So,
Thanks for inviting me on. I had a really good time today.
yeah, I learned a lot and I'll definitely be thinking about everything we talked about. So,
All
yeah,
right.
I upload every Friday. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and that's about it. I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye.